Hey folks, it's Monday, I don't know, 26 or 24 or sometime in January. I have no idea what date it is, but I know it's a Monday. Anyway, the sun is shining, barely a breeze. It's about 62 degrees, I believe, and the bees are really active, so we figured we'd take a look in the hive and see how they're doing, how they've been doing over the winter. We have fed them a little bit of honey this week just to keep them. Remember, this was a new hive that came out of the scraper. We got that swarm that we caught, and we put them in this hive last spring, and they've been here ever since. We can see from the entrance that the bees seem to be doing well. I mean, we see them coming and going. They have definitely shown that the hive is here. No reason to believe they're not healthy. Doesn't look like there's much going on in this top box. We had hoped that they would build it out last year, but it doesn't look like they did. All these frames look pretty much empty. Now we can see that we've got a good bee cluster down inside here. So that basically means that you know, it's not quite warm enough that the bees are super active. So we don't want to tear into that too much. I probably won't even do much more than just take a look at that bottom box. Not necessarily pull all those frames out, mainly because I don't want to disturb them too much. If they've got a good brood in there or whatever, you know, the hive is typically kept at about 97 degrees, so considering that it's only 62, I don't want to open that up and chill the hive, so to speak. Now here we've got some comb that they built probably, I don't know, it could be recent. I mean, the color looks pretty white. It's not that old. Preparations for spring, hopefully. Now remember, we're in Texas, so spring comes a bit earlier here than a lot of the US. Here's some more. That side's nothing, but this side you can see they built comb. You know, one of the good things out of the gate is I do not see any pests at all. I have not. Usually when you look in the top, that's where you're going to find that they've chased small hive beetles and things like that. So, you know, that's good. This time of year doesn't mean a whole lot. Now, looks like they started to build a little comb on the bottom of this frame. Interesting. And there's, that may be old, that stuff that we put in there from the beginning, just some random comb. A lot of propolis gluing all this stuff together. But not much going on in this top box, that's fine. The good news is that they've got plenty of room for spring, which hopefully will discourage them from feeling the need to swarm. We definitely don't want them to swarm this year, especially since it's such a young hive. So we're just gonna lift this box off and take a look here what we see. And so just a quick analysis, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 good rows of bees. So, you know, the hive is not full, which for this time of year, that's not really that unusual because they downsize for winter. And you can see from looking that they did not build this hive all the way out because we don't live here and we don't necessarily know from one time to the next how long it's going to be before we get back up here. I did add this other box. Normally I would not add that second box until they had built the bottom box out about 80%. And see, some of these frames are not built at all. But like I say, on a positive note, they know that they've got plenty of room to expand. Yeah, now this is mud. So that suggests that at one time there was mud daubers or something building on this frame. So might grab a frame and clean that one out later. So let's see. This is just getting into the outside of this hive. So if we look at this frame, that's all just honey that they've stored there. You know, not a lot, but reasonable stores for this time of year. And if I look at this next frame, actually, I'm seeing the same thing. Starting to get just a little bit aggravated now because they don't like me opening it up. But this frame here, it's got a mix of pollen, bee bread, honey. Bees look good. The other side, all honey. That's good. That's this time. Now there's some bee bread in there too. So bee bread is basically a mix of pollen and honey that they kind of ferment, and that's the food that they use to feed larvae, which that's important. As they can come into spring, and we hope that queen starts laying and producing a lot of brood. Having food already stored and ready to go is good. They really glued this stuff together good with propolis. The bee glue. Not seeing much of anything on this frame. Some honey, a lot of bees. There we go. Okay, so I am seeing some larvae, suggesting that the queen is still laying in there. Now remember, this time of year she's just going to maintain the hive, not really be laying tons, but we've got some larvae in there saying that she is still laying and making bees, and that's good. Okay, definitely can see more larvae on this one. Uh-oh. We've got some queen cells here. So, they're either trying to replace a queen or, well, they're just caps. So, and they're not, because they're in the middle, that's not a good sign. So normally you see queen cells. If they're preparing to swarm, you would see what's called a swarm cell, typically at the bottom of the frame. And because those are in the middle, if I remember correctly, that basically means that they're trying to replace the queen. She's not doing good or whatever. So hopefully that all works out. I try to keep these hives as natural as possible. These bees are really gentle bees. They're basically feral, you know. I mean, they were wild. They didn't come from somebody who raises bees or whatever. So in theory, they're less susceptible to diseases and pests. They've kind of figured it out. And so that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to get these bees to stay healthy and grow more hives from this one. But before we can do that, this hive itself has to do well. So I think I've upset them enough. Kind of seen enough to have an idea of what's going on in this hive. I'm going to put her back together. Smoke them down a little bit so that I don't smash bees when I put this hive back together. That one later since they're not using them anyway. And that's all there is to that. We'll keep an eye on that hive and see how that queen replacement goes once it think they've got enough honey and stuff in there to last them the rest of the winter for sure. And when spring comes, they'll be ready to go. The hive has more than enough space in it, so they shouldn't be called to swarm or anything like that. Just see what's going on with this queen situation and keep an eye on the hive overall. We should be good. Another thing we're going to do this year, we're going to try to set up some swarm traps around the area and see if we can attract some of these local bees to voluntarily come into our swarm boxes so we can get some more hives like this. Our hives in San Antonio are just so damn mean that I would love to have nothing but these bees and just get rid of the hives in San Antonio instead of trying to move them out here. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully we can grow this hive big and maybe split it or do something else. We'll just have to keep with it and see how it goes. All right, that's it, folks. Thanks.